It's about the same. All right, cool. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Hello, this is Adam Lucente, and here with me is Jimmy, and we are in beautiful Erbil, Iraq, in the which is the capital of the Kurdish region, the autonomous Kurdish region, which may be the world's next country. Jimmy, thanks for being with me.
It's okay.
So, like I said, a few days before the Kurdish independence referendum on the 25th, at this point, ISIS has lost a lot of its territory in Iraq and in Syria, and one of the interesting stories about the ISIS phenomenon was the foreign fighters, mostly from Europe and North America, who came to join primarily Kurdish groups, but also Christian groups in Iraq and Syria, and these people came to help volunteer to fight against ISIS. Many of them had served in their militaries back home, whether it was the U.S. or Britain or elsewhere, and this received a lot of media coverage. Now less so, but Jimmy has the unique experience of having volunteered, served in the British Army in Iraq. Then later in his life was a combat medic in both the YPG in Syria, the primary Kurdish armed group in Syria, and the Peshmerga, which is the military of Iraqi Kurdistan. So he was on both sides of that. So we're going to talk to him a bit today about his experience. Sound good?
Yeah, good.
All right, cool. So where and when did you serve as a volunteer in this region?
First volunteering I did was across the border in Syria, 2015.
Okay. And that was with YPG?
That was with YPG, yeah. Towards the end of the year, I'm trying to think now, July, end of June through to October.
And when did you do Pesh?
Come back to Iraq and joined Pesh at the end of February 2016 to May last year. Then came back this year. I've only been in country now 5 weeks.
Okay.
It's a short one this time.
And one of your stints you were paid by the Peshmerga, correct?
No, not paid cash as in like a wage. They gave us money for food, bits and bobs like that, but they've not actually given us a wage. It's not a job.
So why did you decide to volunteer all these times with these groups?
Because I've got skills that need put into use. And ISIS, it's a world enemy, and it's what I do. Come to fight them and kill them if I can.
Well, so what was your experience in the YPG? You were a combat medic, but what did that entail?
First instances first place I got into was Kobani, however you pronounce it, in the military hospital. Stayed there for a few days. First casualties come in were civilian. One young kid had been struck with an IED, so that was the basis of the injuries that I'd be seeing for quite a bit. After that, I'd go out with the ambulance and another volunteer. We'd visit the different frontal positions in different villages, all the way from Kobani on the Euphrates River, leading up to the fringes of Raqqa, where at the time, I could be wrong, but I'm sure we were still sort of 40-50k away from the place. The front line was, visiting the local soldiers, the Western and the volunteers, any hinkies they got, any problems, injuries, stuff like that. And we'd stay out there for a little bit. Most of the injuries I'd see though was dehydrated casualties. Locals don't know how to drink water, mate. It's 50-degree heat, and they'd rather sit there drinking chai every 10 minutes, not the water. So yeah, a lot of people going down with dehydration, severe dehydration.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in Peshmerga, did you have a similar role?
Same role, exactly the same role, but it was more of a static role. Last year when we were in Kirkuk, we were on base and I was in a QRF team. So rather than visiting lots of different fronts with an ambulance crew, I was stationed in a unit, an assault unit, QRF unit, quick reaction force. Anything would kick off in any of the fronts in and around Kirkuk, then our unit would be called to them. I would go with them, primarily on there to fight, secondly on there as a medic. So.
And were you mostly in the Kirkuk region?
Yeah, we stayed in the Kirkuk region. Yeah, this stint I've been further south than Kirkuk, in a place called Dakuk. It's about 50k down south. Again, same sort of situation. Stayed within a unit, go to the front each night, and I'd be there again to fight. Secondly, as a medic.
And how did the YPG and the Peshmerga differ as military organizations?
Well, where do you begin? YPG have got a lot of heart for fighting. Like, they believe in what they're doing wholeheartedly and strongly, and they will fight to the death most of the time, which was the problem because they did kind of want to die half the time. Being a martyr and having their picture on the wall, a shaheed as they call themselves, is to them like the ultimate. Whereas to me, it's a little bit different. I want to go home at the end of the day if possible. So it's kind of like, you know, it's a bit stupid going fighting with someone next to you that isn't scared of dying and wants to die is kind of a hindrance. You're going to do something stupid. So whereas the Pesh, some of them, they'll run at the first instance, basically. Any shots fired, they'll be gone. Yeah, others will stay and they'll fight hard, but they're not stupid in the way that they don't want to die. And you can see with some, especially with the older Pesh, the older guys that have lived through a few wars and this and that, they've got a bit of knowledge about them. You know, they've got some military tactics that they've picked up over the years, and they will fight like soldiers. So yeah, big difference tactically and heart-wise.
There's been a lot of debate in media and among the foreign fighter community on how much effect they actually had on this war. So it's kind of a general question, but do you think the foreign volunteers had any effect on the fight against ISIS in Syria and in Iraq?
I can only speak from my experience. I don't think so. I don't. If you're speaking in relation to an effect on helping with Pesh itself, I don't think I have personally. Maybe a little bit. Maybe someone else would say different, but me personally, I don't think so.
Why is that?
Well, there's very few Pesh units that will allow Western volunteers actually to go into the thick of the fighting. So if you've got a Pesh unit that are going into assault a village where there is just a pure dash village, ISIS, and they're going in to assault it to kill them, arrest them, whatever. It's very rare that particular Pesh unit will let a Western volunteer actually go in with them on the main assault, because for Peshmerga it's all about appearance, and the officers do not want to be that guy that potentially got a Western volunteer killed.
Right. So
they sort of leave you on the back burner, and you go in after. I mean, we have fired shots, exchanged shots, and we've killed. We've been involved in killing ISIS. I've seen it, been there. So, but I don't think we've had a massive impact.
So why do you think these groups took foreign fighters then?
Maybe to just use and abuse in some cases, which is kind of what it feels like. Sometimes it's very different with some Pesh. Some Pesh are absolutely fantastic, and I made some good friends with some of the Peshmerga guys. But then there's other Pesh that you can see that they want you here, and they will just treat you like a dog, and there's no respect there, which is kind of hurtful, because you think, well, I travelled 3,000 miles, 4,000 miles, whatever it is, wherever you come from, you pay your own way, whatever, take time out of your personal life, a little bit of respect, or that's all we ask for. We don't ask for much more. So yeah, I think it's a mixed feeling. Some of the Pesh want to see it. Some of the Pesh that have, I find the Peshmerga that have been, I call it westernised, like they might have gone to Norway, or they've lived in Germany, or they've lived in Europe, so they understand the Western way. They understand how we work and the skills we've got to offer, and they're a bit more open about it. Whereas the Peshmerga that have only ever lived here and stayed here and been with Peshmerga and nothing else, it's sort of like their way and they're the best, and we're nothing. So they kind of think they're above us sometimes, which is not very nice, but it's what it is.
And the last question is, so as we speak, Mosul has been liberated by the Iraqi army and allied forces. Raqqa, the word is like a month more. Do you think ISIS will disappear from this region, come back in a different form, focus on Europe? Or what's your opinion?
100%. ISIS are just
Come back.
factions of Al Qaeda that was left. When the Americans and the Brits moved out, the Al Qaeda backed fighters that weren't killed, that is ISIS now. That is what ISIS are now. They're just different names, same people, different name. Yeah, I think the ideology of ISIS will die.
Will. Okay.
Or die down, I should say. But it will rise back up because ideology, it doesn't die if the people don't die. So I think it'll come back in a few years. Once it goes quiet, it'll come back, definitely. But yeah, the fighting here is not going to last much longer. Hawija will be done in a month or two. And that's ISIS as a stronghold pretty much done. And then there's just little pockets of them based here and there then. So not long, hopefully.
Cool. Thanks very much, Jim.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
That's it.